Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Circle of Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, Jon Kovach Jr., and I cannot wait to get into today's discussion and conversations. And also, if you hear any yawning in the background, it is my two puppies. They just walked into the door as I started the show today, and somehow I left the door unlocked and they found a way in. So while the music was playing there at the beginning, they were in here saying hi to me. It was hilarious, but now I've asked them to be quiet and sit in studio and use their studio voices. But today I want to just welcome everybody and say thank you for your continued support of the podcast. If you'd like to share a question that we can bring on air during any one of our sessions, please, or share any thoughts and feedback, we'd love to hear it. You can send that information to info@mychampioncircle.com, where Champion Circle Networking Association, located in states throughout the country, are our main provider. And as the founder of that association, we are so grateful for the opportunities to connect with professionals, to help them grow their businesses, and to accelerate through the mastermind methodologies that we teach. And all of that is an incredible process. Now, we appreciate all of you for your continued support. And as you continue to support us more, we can add more topics, bring more people on the show, and we can host more live events, which is something we'll talk about very, very soon. But I am delighted to have an opportunity to interview this individual. I have been following them for, I think, now a year on TikTok or so, and their energy is just something that I continuously want to match. There's something so magnetizing about this individual. She's huge on Instagram. She's got like thousands of followers over there, and on TikTok we're just growing our following on a whole new audience and a whole new scale. But I'm really, really excited to introduce Megan Gallagher. And let me tell you about her before I bring her on stage. Megan Gallagher is a 27-year-old, or I'm going to say 27-year young, two-time TEDx speaker, which I can't wait to experience and talk to her more about. She's a 4-time Amazon bestseller, which is fantastic. She's a TV host and a mental health advocate. She's got an incredible story about facing her fears and her anxiety and panic attacks. And there's just an entire growth process and story that we're going to get to know here on the air. But also, she's become motivated by her struggles, and she's had the opportunity to work with incredible businesses. She currently speaks at colleges and Fortune 500 companies about mental health, avoiding burnout, and the wellness in the workplace, which is so, so needed. And last but not least, she, other than her incredibly talented opportunities through speaking, authoring, blogging, TV hosting, and freelance modeling and fitness lover, she currently lives in Austin, Texas, one of my favorite cities of all time. Welcome to the Circle of Knowledge podcast, the amazing Megan Gallagher. What is going on, Megan?
Hey, John, how are you? I am so excited for today's conversation. I mean, that intro was phenomenal. I feel like, so I'm like, really? Me? Like, what? You're so sweet to have said all that. And I'm just over the moon to be here. And I feel the same way about you, like-minded energy. So I cannot wait to chat.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the compliments. I appreciate that. And my goal is always to become the number one person considered to hire to take you on the road once you take your tour live. And I'll be your hype man and definitely your stage provider. But I love that, and I'm so excited. And like minds do feel alike because they attract the type of things they want in their life. And I gotta say, just from observation, just by watching you on TikTok and seeing your videos, you invite such a positive, influential, and almost, I'll go as far to say, as a fearless energy. You've definitely, wherever you've come from, you've definitely have overcome some incredible things. And I can't wait to dive into that. So let's kick off today's conversation by asking a loaded but open-ended question, which is, tell us about who Megan is. Where did she come from? What is her story? And how did you get here? And we can interject with some conversation.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I would say, so I love it. Who is Megan? So I was born and raised in San Francisco Bay Area in California. I grew up in a suburb outside of the city, and I feel like I had a, very normal childhood, super positive, very supportive. I feel very fortunate and very blessed. And I remember, throughout, my early adolescent, I mean, as early as like fourth grade, I remember always worrying before events, like before
Mm,
sleepaway camp in fourth grade, going on class field trips, um, anything really. I just was always nervous before. And I was like, this is just interesting. And at that age, I wasn't even paying attention. I just would get very anxious and worried. And thankfully, I had parents that, were definitely aware that I was a sensitive child. And so it's interesting too, because my parents are so opposite. My my mom is a little bit more like tough love, like just do it. You're gonna be fine. You just go do it. And my dad's more of a softie. So it was interesting having the mixture of both growing up because, I think for me, I would not be the woman that I am today without both of my parents. But my mom really, really, really was like the main motivator. She would still push me to do things even when I didn't want to do it. I would be calling her crying from school saying, pick me up. I feel sick. Something is wrong. And she just said, Megan, I love you. You will thank me one day, but you're staying at school. You're going to stay here. I know you can do it. And I just feel like that, like her, pushing me to do things, it really trained in my mind to just do it no matter what I was feeling. And to know that emotions, come and go. Nothing lasts forever. And as someone like, I'll get back to it, but when I was in high school, that's when my anxiety was at its absolute worst. And I mean, I was like a shell of a person hanging on by a thread, like having 20 panic attacks a day, just all my grade. Yeah, like I was getting C's and D's in all my classes, like really in a low, low place. Um, and I remember, just thinking to myself, this is just so awful. Like, I would not wish this on anyone else. The feeling of panic attacks, if you've experienced it, they're so awful. It's terrible. You feel like you're literally just going to die. Like, you're going to blow up and you're like, I need to get out of my skin. I feel like I cannot breathe. Everything is closing in and it's very scary. But I really do think that my upbringing was uniquely for me because it really motivated me, just to continue to push myself no matter what. And like I was saying, as early as fourth grade, I remember just always feeling so worried. I was always nervous before events and always freaking out. And what if I die? What if the plane crashes? The what ifs. And then my middle school years, I still was a little bit anxious, of course, going through, puberty, so awkward. And then high school was when it was at its absolute worst. And I remember, my freshman year of high school, it was really the transition from eighth grade to freshman year, all of the change, some friends going to a different high school, and just starting high school in general it's such a scary time. I mean, it's like, you're getting ready for a huge time in your life. The 4 years you're trying to find your locker, trying to impress this guy. It's like everything matters so much. And when you are in high school, it's just, you're really like, it's just such a stressful time. I mean, the body changes, the hormones, you're experiencing your first romantic relationship, probably, going through so many first prom and trying to get this and that and the grades and get ready for college. I mean, it's a lot. And so I remember my freshman year, about a month into it. I mean, this is 9 years ago, so long ago, but about like a month into it, I just started having these, I called them episodes because I didn't know what it was, but these episodes throughout the day, I would be sitting in class, just doing my thing. And I just all of a sudden felt so hot. I was like, what the heck? And I felt sweaty everywhere. And I just felt like my heart was like, I was going to have a heart attack. And I would like clutch my desk and be like, oh my God, this is the end. I'm just going to, this is a stroke. I'm having a heart attack in class at 14, 15. This is so embarrassing. And I would always ask my teacher, can I go to the bathroom? That was my thing. I'd get the hall pass, run off to the girls' room. And I talk a lot about this. I actually recently just wrote a blog for a mental health brand that helps student athletes. So it's all about mental health and student athletes. I wrote a really cool guest blog for them about that my little mini rock bottom, when I would go sit in this girl's bathroom, it would be ice cold, super quiet in the bathroom stall. And I would hear the generator next door humming, and I would look down at the square tiles and just feel like, like, what is happening? I was trying to self-soothe, calm myself down, because panic attacks are so embarrassing and it's such a raw moment, and you don't want to have one in public. That's like the biggest fear. So I would be trying to self-soothe in this bathroom stall, staring at the graffiti on the walls, and just really, I'm like, okay, so this is my life, like I had many thoughts in that bathroom stall. And I'm like, I remember the moment where everything changed is one day I went again to the bathroom stall, and I sat there and I told myself, I was like, honestly, I don't even see a future for myself. I'm about to start the panic attacks had gone on for, 9 months basically. And I was like, I am literally hanging on by a thread. My grades are slipping because I just still didn't know what was going on, because no one talked about mental health in my school. So I just felt like I was a weirdo who had a disease or a disorder. I felt
Yeah.
so alone. And mental health, really, when you don't talk about it and there's no awareness or education, you can feel, so alone, and just so it's awful what it can do to you. It can swallow you whole and bring you to such a dark place. So I remember, though, this major moment in my life, sitting in the bathroom stall, and I was like, here I am, at 15 years old, and I don't even see a future for myself. I don't even see myself moving out of my parents' house. I don't even see, like, while everyone's, kind of prepping for college and SAT and all homecoming and prom, it's like, I was like, I don't even see myself getting, 5 more minutes. Like, I was in survival mode so desperately. And I was like, how am I going to be an adult? How am I going to be happy, healthy, all that stuff? So in that moment, I decided, you know what, I'm going to ask for help. And that changed my entire life, as I asked my parents to go to therapy. And that was very hard for me to do. Like, my hands were literally like shaking when I told them something was going on. And I just cried, and it was so word vomiting, but it was the bravest thing I ever did, because I realized in that moment, asking for help, it actually means that you're really brave. It does not mean that you're weak. It does not mean that, you are like a loser or inferior. It means that you're really strong. And so that kind of, at 15, was the catalyst that set me on this course for, I mean, the next, yeah, 10 years. I mean, it really, that wellness journey started in that moment. I started therapy. I still have a therapist to this day. It's been 14 years
Wow.
so long, 12 years since that moment. And I'm just proud of myself, because also I do believe that things happen for a reason. And if I didn't go through that challenging time, I wouldn't have the empathy, compassion. I wouldn't be the speaker that I am, because I wouldn't have walked through it. So, looking back in hindsight, I'm like, thank you, universe. Thank you, God, because I think some of our biggest challenges, the universe, I always tell myself this. I'm a spiritual person now at 27, but I tell myself this. The universe does not, want to see us suffer. Like, God, whatever you believe in, they don't want to see us suffer, right? They're not like, oh, here's this cute young girl named Megan, and now we're going to give her this hard time. That's not what the universe does. The universe sees the person that we're going to become on the other side of it. The stronger, more resilient, more powerful, more loving, more compassionate. And they're obsessed with that version of us. And that's what I believe is the most challenging: losing a loved one, mental health, financial crisis, breakups, grief, whatever. The universe is not like, oh, we want you to be in pain, but they just know that oftentimes those hard moments literally are the catalyst for some of the biggest transformations. And the universe, God, really wants us to be the person that we become on the other side. It's like, it's not a coincidence when you go through really bad breakups that you're like, this is so painful, that you're just like, I'm just going to get in the best shape ever, right? You're like, I'm so sick of feeling so sad and just so, and then boom, guess what? You get in the best shape ever because you need discipline. You need something to look forward to. And then getting in the best shape ever, that wouldn't have happened if you so everything is so connected in life. And so, yeah, in a nutshell, I'm such a talker, but in a nutshell, that's kind of a little bit about my story. And, I've just been on this journey. Like I didn't go to college, and I just moved down to Los Angeles when I was younger, 18, and I just started speaking. I just knew my passion, I knew my purpose, and I just would go around to boys and girls clubs, like anywhere that would have me. My parents are like, cool, you found your passion, awesome. They're very open-minded, but they were like, you have to make it happen yourself. So I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. So I just kept on going. That's been the main thing of my career, is I just keep on going, no matter with what I have. And I've, early on in my career too, I had many moments where I had to have, part-time jobs, just hustling my butt off to make it happen. Like working at front desks at a gym and having to wake up at 3 a.m. to open up the gym. And then throughout the day, dealing with people throwing towels at you, calling you this and that, and I've done it all. I've cleaned toilets. I've cleaned sweaty yoga studio floors. I've folded laundry in the back of yoga studios. I've done it. And like those jobs, were so difficult, but they taught me, I wouldn't be the person I am without that, because it instills in you the discipline of just still showing up and doing it and giving it your best effort. And to me, that discipline and that resilience is also a huge part of my career now.
So beautifully said. And I have to tell you, your journey, your story is so inspiring. And it reminds me of some interviews that I have had on this show. And it is amazing to me that a common theme that has something, because I reached out to you and I invited you to be on the show, and something that I guess that is magnetizing to me is this background of overcoming, but also working with and living with the trials of something like anxiety and how real it actually is. And I love your story. I recently had a guest on the show, and she's very popular on social media. She's one of the world's top heptathletes. Her name is Shari Hawkins, and I
love Shari.
Shari's amazing.
Yes, and so
I follow her for many reasons, and we've built a bit of a connection there. But she talks about in our interview her story, and very, very similar to that bathroom stall scene that you painted for us. And it is something that I can't wait to get to the ears of so many listeners, because I want them to understand that there is a way out. There is solutions. And your story is so inspiring, Megan. And I love it too. And I'll just comment here, that you and I are kind of a younger generation of speakers right now. A lot of the people we speak on stage with are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And we're kind of this younger crowd moving up. And I aspire to I know, right? We're just like,
I know.
Well, I aspire that you and I are speaking on stages together in the future, because of the messaging that powered with the coupled information that can help and heal so many people. And I love it. And I have to admit too that as much as I've experienced as an ex-athlete and the anxiety that I've experienced throughout my life, there's probably a few times in my life where I can really count on my fingers that I had a true panic attack. And it is, I would rather watch The Grudge like 10 times in a row than go through that again, because it is such a exhausting and terrifying feeling. And I feel for those who go through that on a daily basis, let alone hourly basis. And so your story is so inspiring. I can't wait to dive into that, but also thank you for your explanation and story.
Yeah. And I always feel like, and this goes back to my childhood, like I feel so grateful because like I said, I would not be the woman that I am without my childhood. To me, that's like the foundation of a house, right? My childhood is the foundation of who I am. Like all of the things that I learned throughout my life come from my childhood. I would not be the strong, resilient, hardworking, disciplined person I am without my childhood. Like that was everything to me. Like my parents, I get goosebumps, but they mean the world to me. Like they both come from normal families. Like I come from pretty normal, humble beginnings, like nothing crazy, but just a normal middle class family.
Mhm.
And my parents just told me, Megan, whatever you want in this life, it's yours. Never let anyone tell you that you cannot achieve anything. If someone, like my mom is so just like a mini Kris Jenner, like I love her, but she's super, super, super just like go for it. Like never ever. And she was like, if someone tells you no, you're talking to the wrong person. And having, growing up as a girl, having someone instill that in you, and like a dad, that was just the best dad to girls ever. Because my family, we have no boys. It's me and a sister, so it's just girls. But I had the best dad ever, who was such a great girl's dad, and he just would always show up mentally and physically to every soccer game, every homecoming, like he was just always there for us, and he would wipe our tears when a guy didn't text us back. And he always just went above and beyond, coming to the volleyball tournaments. And my mom saying, oh yeah, there's tons of other dads, go drive your daughters to this volleyball tournament in some other city. And he would show up and there's no other moms, and he just had, like, he's such a great dad. And he'd go to every Girl Scout, all the stuff, the Cub Den, everything. He's so phenomenal. And so my mom too, she always told me, just like I said, they showed us the movie The Secret, all about manifestation and law of attraction. When I was 9 years old, my parents sat us down, and my sister and I, and we watched it, and they were like, you have this ability, like your thoughts, you can manifest any life that you want. And so that's kind of the household I grew up in, which also shaped me into who I am. My parents were strict, but also it was more of like a kind of, I would never say hippie, but very open-minded, very spiritual. That's just how I was raised. Like anything is possible. And they did a good mixture of keeping it grounded, and there were rules, but we were allowed to just dream big. And one day I want to play the clarinet, cool, go play it. Like one day I want to be a Girl Scout, go do it. So that's how I grew up. So I feel like, to circle it back, I would not be the woman that I am if it weren't for my childhood. Like the things that I learned really shaped me into who I am today. And I feel like as we get older, as we become an adult, we kind of realize, like I live in Texas and I have my own life and I'm really independent. We just realize, the more people you meet, you're like, not everyone has a great childhood. Not everyone had it really as I did. And it's just a reality. The more, you grow and expand your mind and your perspective, you're like, I'm proud of myself. I'm like a woman of integrity. I'm a woman of just good morals and values. And I meet hundreds of people all the time just with my work and my social life. And it's just cool because you just get to learn and really kind of just observe people. And you're like, I wonder what their childhood was like. You're like, I wonder how they grew up, if their parents were loving or if they had a really fun family. So that's what I'm always just thinking about. But yeah.
I have to throw in some thoughts here, because there's some really cool things that you've highlighted, and I want my listeners to pay attention to this, because despite the average or the normal lifestyle that you grew up in, a middle class family, I have to admit, like, that is a very, very powerful highlight to your childhood and your parents for allowing you to be allowing your environment to be open-minded to what comes and to sharing such powerful principles. I wish that the first day of high school, they would have made me watch several movies, including The Secret, and
it's
because
the best.
That would have been a game changer for a lot of my experiences.
Yeah.
And there was something you said that really stuck with me, and as I'm very inspired by the way your parents led and guided you and supported you. The resiliency comes with the response, and the resiliency in your response was you were open to receiving it as well as accepting it and working with it. So not only was parental support just vital, but that became a standard in your life where you needed help and you needed to go to resources who could provide that help. And for those who didn't grow up in a great family, who are rising from the literal ashes of the earth because you were facing, tragedies on a daily basis, or you just don't have the circumstances to get on the right foot just yet, just listen to Megan's story. And even at, I think you said 16 or 17 years
Yes.
old, she requested a therapist. And for 12 or 14 years later, she still has a therapist. And that is really, really powerful, Megan, because you can get the help you need. That's a message I wish everybody knew and understood, is it is there for you. And it is what you do with your resources that will ultimately allow you to expand and reach and become what you want to become. And whether it's a speaker or just an entrepreneur, or just you want to be a good person, whatever life points in the direction of whatever your Northern Star is, right? You need to be able to recognize that you are brave by asking for help. You are incredible by allowing other people to help you, and also putting yourself into a position to be open to that. And your story emulates that. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. I mean, thank you, John, for being so kind. I feel like, you know, there is a power in asking for help. And, you know, being a speaker for, I'm 27 now, but being a speaker for the last 9.5, 10 years, I started when I was 18. So being a speaker for 10 years, you know, at all the schools I've spoken at all the seminars, conferences, everything, I've realized, you know, I do feel like, I mean, I know that the world that we're headed towards, you know, the stigma is ending, but I do feel like there is such a stigma with men and women and mental health. You know what I mean? Like, I feel, because all the schools that I've spoken at, I've noticed that, you know, typically girls are always like, oh my gosh, I want, you know, at the end, I want to ask a question. They're like, so, you know, I'm having anxiety, or this guy or whatever. But guys are so just like, you know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, sure. And I've had moments where guys, you know, after I talk and I leave, guys will DM me on Instagram privately, and they're like, hey, Megan, I loved your talk. But, you know, it's like, blah, 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 blah. And they ask a question. And I think it's just not funny, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just guys and girls are so different the way that their minds operate. And I think, you know, for men, when they're growing up, I do feel like they're just treated like men. Just, I think with mental health, it's like I said, we're in a world where things are changing, but I do feel like, you know, men are kind of like raised a little bit to be like, you know, you're the man, you provide, you work hard, you find someone, get married, settle down, and like, you're the man, you have to be macho, you have to be tough. And it's just like that, you know, to a point. I'm like, men can also, you know, show their emotions. Like, I think it's healthy to have a dad where you see them cry, or, you know, that crying does not mean you're weak. It means you're strong, and crying is just, you know, a release of emotions. It doesn't mean that, you know, I don't know. So I think it's just really about reframing and kind of like changing the stigma. Yeah, because I just feel like in my experience, you know, men and women are so just, they think so differently, but I think with mental health, there is, you know, just such a stigma. So.
Oh man. Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. You know, as an athlete as well, I recognize that whenever I had my panic attacks or my anxiety, I needed to shove it down deep and hide it, because if I were to be seen in that state, I would be seen as weak. Maybe I would lose my starting position, or I wouldn't get as good of results, and people would judge me. And so I definitely felt that, like, having to be something other than what I was feeling, definitely, for sure. And I agree with you too. I think the stigma is changing. I think it's becoming a lot more understood and accepted, and widely familiarized amongst individuals. But we're still not there yet, and which means the world has a lot to work on, and a lot to improve. But Megan, I'd love to ask you, the brilliant speaker that you are, and the information that you share, and congratulations on all the most recent successes. I know there's so much more to come. Let's talk about the the golden nuggets of knowledge you'd like to share with my audience, as well as, what's
Ooh.
some wisdom that we can invite them to learn, accept, and take action on today. But what are some thoughts that you'd like, and it might be you telling your 16-year-old self, or it might be
Yes,
just
yeah.
what you think is common knowledge that people should probably know today. What's some words of wisdom that we can share?
Yes. Okay, so I would say my words of wisdom. I have 3 quotes I want to share. These are my quotes that I live by. Number 1 is everything is happening for you, not to you. That's something that I tell myself all of the time, even, when I'm having a challenging moment. Even me, the speaker, the girl who's always positive, whatever. Because I like to remind people, it's like I'm still a human being. I'm still a 27-year-old girl that has so many things that I don't share on social media that I'm going through all of the time. Um, and I feel like for me, maybe in my personal life, my career, or something I talk about online is my love life. Guess what? I'm still single. You know what I mean? Like some people think, oh my God, they always tell me you're such a catch. Megan, you have so many great qualities. Why are you still single? I'm like, that's the worst thing you could ask someone. Like, I'm like, well, I don't know why I'm still single, Karen, or whatever it is. So I feel like for me, just the quote, everything is happening for you, not to you, is something that brings me a lot of peace. And it just reminds me of like, okay, I know my foundation, I know my faith, I know who I am. And that to me is just something that's really important, is like whatever life throws at me, I always come back to my truth and myself. And of course, being 27, like I have goals. And I think when I was younger, I would have thought, oh, by 27, I'll be married with kids and all blah, blah, blah. But my life I'm so happy, but it has definitely, panned out into something else. And I think it's all about just not like letting go of the vision of what I thought my life would turn into, but definitely being open and adjusting and being flexible. And to me, like I said, I still want to be a mom one day and get married, but I often, when I go on dates and like it doesn't work out, I get so disheartened, and I am such a little like softy teddy bear on the inside. So it like I cry and I just eat ice cream and I'm just like, I'll never get married. Like I'm like, my life is over. And then I feel sad, and I have a whole playlist too that I play when I'm sad. I literally am peeing my pants. I have a whole playlist. It's it's literally all Barry Manilow. It's literally all these like love ballads from the eight. It's literally, I play it when I get sad. I can't even breathe. It's Barry Manilow. Like I'm just crying. It's like Whitney Houston, just Dolly Parton, like the saddest songs ever. And I play it. And I also, like, me by nature, I'm not like dramatic, but I'm just I'm such a feeler. Like
Yeah.
I'm a Scorpio, I'm into horoscopes. I'm a water sign. And so I just feel things on a deep level. Like I'm a sensitive soul. And so when it doesn't work out with a guy, I get so like, I literally will listen to this playlist and just cry. And then, so I move on. But for me though, this quote, everything is happening for you, not to you. It literally just brings me back home to my center. So that's my first quote I live by. Second quote is, rejection is God's protection. That is something that I tell myself all the time. John, in this industry, just entertainment, motivational speaking, we constantly are hearing no's or yeses, and just the entrepreneurial life, there's so many ups and downs, right? There we go. That's one of my favorite quotes. Just all the time, even with modeling, I have big dreams. I want to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated one day. And I have done swim searches, etc. I've gone to whatever auditions. And even early on in my career, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I had like no money, but I had big dreams. And I'm just like, I'm just going to, go around with business cards and just, go to schools and it'll happen. I heard thousands of no's. People were like, no, you're just not a fit. And I'm like, okay, why? And at that age, rejection really hurt me. And I was like, I took it so personally, right? It would weigh on me for weeks and months. And I would just get so disheartened and, just be so upset. And then, still, for years and years and years, I really heard a lot of no's. It was just, no, you don't have enough money for this agent, for this manager, for this PR team. You just don't have enough followers. You don't have enough engagement. All this, you're just, to me, it was just like, you are just not enough. To me, that's what I felt like. Megan, whatever you do, you are just not enough. You will never be enough. And for a while, I got really down on myself because I was just like, wow. So I guess, it's like my dreams are just never going to come true because I have these huge dreams. To me, it feels intuitively right. But I'm like, here I go about my life, hearing all of these no's, just no, you're not enough. You're too short. You're too this. You have acne scars. You are too that. You just are not going to ever fit the mold. And to me, it's like, I just feel so like it really, it weighed on me. But then as I got older, I started realizing, I'm not going to take it as personally. It kind of went in one ear, out the other. And as I gained more traction myself and, my career took off in the last like 4.5 years, I feel like when I hear no's now at 27, it's like it doesn't bother me as much. I used to take it so personally and I would like, just like go like ham on myself and I would be like, oh my God, it's me. And I'm so this and so that. But thankfully, it's like I don't do that anymore. And so I do think rejection is so painful, but it definitely serves a purpose. And that rejection will help you build character and it will really build that resiliency. Because also, being an influencer, Don, I'm sure you can relate. Every day on Instagram, I get, thousands, hundreds of people just being like the positive comments, but then also people saying things like, you're so ugly, or you look like a man, or your parents should have gotten an abortion. People go in and they're really harsh. But guess what? I also have to realize that for me, I put myself online, right? It's like there's a price to pay. There's repercussions with any choice you make in life. I put myself online. So that's something that I chose. I don't have to do it if I don't want to, but it's also, to me, I'm glad that at 27, I have the maturity and the bandwidth to to handle all of this. If I were 12 years old, that's why I fear for social media in today's generation, because if I were 12 years old, on TikTok, I already, have struggled with body image stuff and eating disorders in the past. Thankfully, I'm over that. But it's like, by gosh, at 13, to have people commenting saying, like, go burn in go die, or go this, or you look like a man, or it's so harsh. Those words really affect you at that age. So I feel grateful because at 27, it's like I can handle it because I just have thicker skin and I'm way more, with age comes wisdom, right? And maturity. And I just know that what other people say and, about me has nothing to do with me. It is, it's really a reflection of them and how they feel about themselves. And to me, it's like hurt people hurt other people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a happy, confident person. Do I ever DM someone? No, because I love my life and I feel confident and happy and in alignment. I really do think. And for someone, like when I was younger, I was bullied a lot. And I remember in middle school, there was this girl that would make fun of my forehead and she would just like rip on me and like terrorize me. And I would literally go home from school walking and I would be sobbing my eyes out and it was traumatizing. Wow. And I took it so personally though, right? At that age, I'm like, oh my God, she is right. I am ugly and I just XYZ. But I realized, in those moments, like now looking back, I'm like, man, I don't wish I knew it because that happened for a reason, but I'm like, I wish I knew it was everything about her. Like she probably had a terrible home life or hated herself or just felt, insecure and was like, oh, here's this nice, happy girl and I'm just going to rip on her. It has nothing to do with you. It's just, we take it so personally, but bullies really are just people that really either emotionally can't handle the stuff that they're dealing with. And so they project onto other people, or they just have a hard home life. They're going through a lot and they don't know how to, process and kind of cope with their feelings and stuff in a healthy way. So I feel like I just wish I knew a lot of things when I was younger, but once again, it all happens for a reason. And so back to what I was saying, my second favorite affirmation, the rejection is God's protection. My third one is all is well. Like everything is working out. I always tell myself that because with my career, there are so many ups and downs and so many changes every day. And I tell myself over and over again, all is well, all is well. And to me, that's just something I carry with me wherever I go. Yeah. Even, just when business deals fall through or something that I really wanted when it doesn't work out, I just tell myself, all is well, all is well. And to me, that's how I get through days when I feel, like nothing is working out, or I just feel like I'm in a rut. So that's kind of how I live my life.
Well, simultaneously to the knowledge you've just shared, which I'll scroll back through them, you've done a fantastic job of reviewing them and repeating them. Everything is happening for you, not to you. Rejection is God's protection, and all is well. These are not only great knowledge, nuggets of knowledge, but they're invitations, they're calls to action. And like you said, in a way, they're manifestations or affirmations, because these are powerful, I guess, principles that you can live by to just not take in the hard things, but to allow yourself to grow beyond the difficulties and the speed bumps that you hit along the way and the hurdles that come your way. That's a phenomenal way to live. And I know you've talked about your parents, your upbringing, your drive and desire to help and serve, and so much of that. But I have to ask, with all that has come from where you've been and now where you're going, what continues to inspire you along this journey? I mean, what is it that's really driving Megan to be on the cover of the magazine, on the best speaker in the world, to do all of these things? What continues to drive you now that you've learned and have become more comfortable in your own skin?
That's a great question, John. I would say what has really driven me is just, I'm motivated by myself, every day to get to do these things. Like there was once a time when I prayed about all the things that I have now. So that always keeps me humble. And I also feel like what motivates me is, helping other people. Like one of my favorite stories ever is, back in Nashville 3 years ago, there was a boy that follows me on Instagram who is probably about 10 years old now. His name, I won't say his name, but he is the cutest guy ever. And he had, been through cancer twice at 10, which is incredible. It's so awful. And he is just such a powerful human. And he had been following me on Instagram for a while. But he was in Nashville doing a Make-A-Wish Foundation trip with the Vanderbilt football team. Wow. And he and his dad really, wanted to meet me. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, and it wasn't sketchy. They were very nice about it. So they took me to ice cream and I was like, wow, this is so fun. And I met this gentleman, this young guy, for the first time. And it was so cute, John. Literally, he was so nervous. I was like dying. He was just so like bright faced. He's like, oh, and his dad's like, it's Megan, like say hi. He's just like really nervous. And I'm like, oh my God. So we got ice cream and it was so cute. The boy had made a list of questions to ask me because he wanted to ask me this in person. On paper, he wrote it down and it was like, what's your favorite color? Like all these really, really cute things. And so I'm sitting next to him and they bought me ice cream. They were so nice. And I'm like eating the ice cream, just sitting next to him. And, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is, just how's life? Like, tell me about yourself, what you do. And he was just so nervous. The dad was chatting with me for like the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, this is so cute. And then slowly he opened up and he's just like, what's your favorite color? And I'm like, blue. He was just so cute. And so we had a great time. It was like 45 minutes and it was just an absolute blast. And to me, we took a photo and, they were saying at the ice cream date that when this boy was going through chemotherapy, he said that my Instagram, really helped him through that hard time. And I literally was like fighting back tears because I'm like, to me, that's what this is all about, right? Like, of course, I love making money and all that stuff is fun. But then at the end of the day, like, to me, I do this for that reason. I really feel like in life, one of my favorite quotes ever is, people, like, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency that there is. I will, when we all pass away one day, in a long time, hopefully, but at 95 years old, when I am like long gone, I want people to remember me for being a positive person and for really giving it her all and like leaving a mark on this world. Like I just will never forget that, though. Like, to me, that quote really was in my head. Like, I affected this guy in such a positive way. And I love what I do, but some days I'm just posting like, just whatever, going through the motions, and I forget that my stuff really has an impact on other people's lives. And to me, to meet someone in person that I got to inspire was like the best gift ever. And so I still have that photo to this day. It's somewhere. But it's like my favorite thing. So,
Oh, it's such a beautiful story.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know that
Of course.
the answer truly does continue to evolve, the greater influence we create and the more people we reach. But what a powerful message. And
Yeah.
and in respect of your time, I know that you mentioned we have a time limit to
Yes.
how much we can connect today. And I'd love to put a
Yes.
part one on the end of this one and continue the conversations. And by the way,
Yes.
Megan, I've got to find a way to get you out to Salt Lake City and get you speaking on one of our
Yeah.
champion stages, because
I would love that.
you inspire me. And I know that as easy as that comes, I'm so influenced by positive
Yeah.
messages that I know that you could reach an incredible group of people who are probably
Mhm.
going through what I can't provide counsel for them to. And I'm just super excited to introduce you to
Yes.
that group. But thank you so much for your time, for your
Thank
dedication.
you.
And seriously, I can't wait to develop a better connection and relationship with you as we continue to grow in the speaker tours. And I also just want to invite all of my listeners to go check Megan's Instagram out, go follow her. She is making a difference, as she described in her story. I personally am favorable to TikTok, because I want that to be a platform and a place where we spread positivity too. And she
Yes.
continues to do that. She's a rising star over there as well. You did mention that there's going to be a course releasing sometime by the end of July-ish. And would you like to quickly talk about that before we sign out?
Yes. So right now I'm working on my first online course. I'm so excited. It's going to be out hopefully in about 3 weeks. I'll do a lot of promo and, announcements and posting on my story before then. But I am, so grateful and so excited. And I'm just over the moon about this, really all about childhood trauma and how it affects the adults that we become.
Beautiful. And depending on when that launches, I'll be in touch with Megan
Yes.
to understand that, so that we can post it in our show notes and get you all
Yes.
connected with that. We're excited to support you and
Yes.
and send everyone towards your direction to learn more about you. But
Yes.
if you guys want to really connect with her, go to Instagram, see where all the hype and excitement and positivity is. That's definitely where I've learned more about Megan. And again, thank you so much for your time and for your dedication to serving so many people. It takes in a previous interview I had, it takes a certain type of person and a different type of energy to learn what you've learned, but to immediately feel the need to turn around and help people and pay it forward. And that is the type of people you should surround yourself with. If you're looking, this is my audience, if you're looking for those types of people who are going to bring positive impact in your life. And I believe that you, Megan, are an awesome advocate for that and an example of awesomeness. And we appreciate you being here. Any other last thoughts or words you'd like to share as we bring this to a close?
I would say to everyone listening and watching, just know that everything really is happening for you, not to you. And you have got this.
So beautifully said. I can't wait for more. Awesome, guys. This has been an incredible interview and experience that I've had, and I've learned so much. I'll share my notes with you in the comments section, but we've got to hear from Megan Gallagher, and go check her out on social media. Be alert, as there'll be so much more for her. And for those of you who are constantly listening to our episodes and our show, we invite you to continuously send your support, give us a 5-star review, share some likes. And if you'd like to have a question answered on the air by any one of our guests, please send that to info@mychampioncircle.com. And remember always that everything you need is already inside you. You just need to take a little bit of action in order to get to the place you are journeying to. And we love that message and continue to perpetuate it. With that being said, guys, we'll see you next time on another episode of The Circle of Knowledge. We'll see you later.